Hey everybody, how's it going? A few years ago I discussed what I found to be a really large botch in MacBook board design. That's in this video, Apple botches MacBook board design again. In this video I went over a design flaw where they have a 50-volt power line for the screen backlight one pin away from the data line for screen image. The reason this presents a problem is because the image is created by a data line to the CPU. So in these machines, the CPU has an integrated graphics chip in it. And as you can see from this schematic and board view, you have these two pins over here. Pin 1 is EDP, embedded display port, and over here on pin 43, you have PPV out SO LCD backlight, which is going to be 50 volts. This is usually going to be about 1.7 volts. And as you can see, this goes straight to the CPU. Now, since there's no ground pin in between or anything like that, if anything funky happens, that 50 volts goes pow, and I don't know, even Linus isn't going to be able to get a CPU to survive after sending 50 volts to it, especially not in a MacBook. CPUs tend to not like getting 50 volts of vCore. Now, this is actually arranged so that they're as far apart as humanly possible, because this is pin 43 and that's pin 1. However, because of how they are put on the connector, pin 1 is next to pin 43, and I don't think anybody noticed this before it went into design. As a result, as I go over in the video, you'll see many MacBooks that wind up looking like what you see on the screen over here, which is hopelessly destroyed. When you see this, it usually means that MacBook is pretty much done for without replacing the CPU. Replacing the CPU is very difficult because they are very expensive. You need expensive machinery to do it, and many of the people selling those expensive CPUs are ripping them off of other boards that probably got put in the garbage because they have a dead CPU. As you can see on the screen, this is burned. This is terrible. And this is going to be a CPU that got 50 volts to it. Now, why am I bringing this up when I've already done a video on this problem in the 2016 MacBook? What's the point of rehashing the past? This is an A2149 MacBook. This is less than 1 year old. They're still selling this. This design flaw has existed for over 4 years now, and nothing has been done about it. That's something new, even for Apple. So there's a video that I did a while back. That video here is the horrible truth about Apple's repeated engineering failures. And in that video, I went over all of the design flaws and failures. Some Apple has admitted to, some Apple has not admitted to. But typically, when they had a design flaw, what they would do is they would correct it in the next year's model and then try to sweep it under the rug so that they didn't have to create an extended warranty program for the old one. And that's something that I used to criticize Apple for, because if you design something that you know is designed faulty and you fixed it in the new year, don't charge people out the ass to fix your defect in the prior year's model. What is new here is that they're not even changing it. They're not even changing the design so that this no longer happens. This was a design flaw in machines from 2016 that were manufactured in 2016, and even the new models coming out right now are still put together with the 50-volt power line right next to the CPU data line on a connector that is right on the edge of the computer. And the best part about this is this board. It's been 4 years. I'm sorry. I'm at a loss for words here. And there are lots of people that say you're biased, you just hate Apple, and you get like, okay, fine. Let's say that's true. Is any of what I'm saying not actually true? Like, has this design been updated? Am I missing something? Is this not a new board from a new machine? Is this not an 820.01949A? And see, these are the things that aggravate me, because the person that bought this, when I explain to them, I can't fix this because I can't get a part to it, and this design, and they say, well, why does this happen? And I said, well, they put the data line next to the power line. They go, well, wouldn't they know about that? And I go, well, yeah, because they've been manufacturing like that for 4 years. And they go, I can't believe they would let that happen. And it's weird having these conversations with people, because like in that moment where they realize that the company that they've purchased the product from doesn't care about them one bit. They'll say, well, I thought that they were top rated in customer satisfaction. The magazine that I read said they're very well built. They care about engineering. It's really interesting just like shoving this pile of red pills down their throat and just watching them digest it in real time. It's a different experience with each individual, but it's always fascinating to listen to or watch, particularly in person when I just listen. Just don't listen to me. Look at the schematic, look under the microscope, look at the 2016 model, 17, 18, 19, and 20. It's the exact same thing. Like, I'm truly sorry that I can't do anything for you, but here's why. And then at that point, they slowly, they stop directing their aggravation at you. And at that point, they'll either start to direct their aggravation with the company that screwed them, Apple, or they will start to internalize it and pretend it didn't happen because they must protect the precious, because they have bought into the idea that Apple is a company that makes products that are better and different and superiorly engineered to anything on Earth. And then they realize it's all full of crap. But the cognitive dissonance that occurs there, because they bought into it, they need to just pretend that this didn't happen. I'm just going to go to the Apple store. I'm going to buy a new one. I'm particularly sad when the latter is the case, because usually when a company produces something poorly and screws you over, what you do with virtually every other company, you say, I'm not buying that again. I'm not giving them my money again. Whereas with Apple, what tends to happen and what usually drives me insane is they'll go, I can't believe that they did that. I can't believe that they screwed me. I'm going to give them another $3,000. And I go, what? But such is life. The frustration comes from watching people get screwed and then walk down the path to getting screwed again over and over and over. It's not when someone has a great experience and spends money with Apple. It's when someone spends $3,000 with Apple, gets an item that has the exact same defect that it did 4 years ago, and then responds to that, fully understanding what happened by walking over to the Apple store and giving them another $3,000. It's the complete inability to save this person that you would like to save that becomes so frustrating. It's like watching Game of Thrones and just seeing the great simp Jorah Mormont continuously get owned by Khaleesi and continue to be dedicated to her anyway. You just want to just go through the damn monitor and just choke him. Say, stop! Find another woman! But you can't. In that case, because Jorah is a fictional character on your screen. But you get the idea there. People will say, well, every company is going to get something wrong, right? Every company is going to try to sweep something under the rug or just try to, avoid liability for things that they've done wrong in the past. And yes, we are all human. We all make mistakes. And when we make those mistakes, oftentimes we don't want to pay the full price of the consequences. We want to just kind of move on to greener pastures and forget about that. I understand that. I'm human as well. We all have those urges. However, when you notice that something is being done wrong, that is screwing people, that is poorly designed in a manner where it's just not like that in many other machines, and you realize that it's screwed up, would it kill you to simply reroute the connector, change the display cable and the connector in a different year? It's not like we're dealing with off-the-shelf products in many cases when it comes to even things like the screen, because Apple will often use screens in their computer that fit nothing else. So it's not like they need the MacBook to be put together this way because this screen that they're using is used in every other product and that's just the way it is. No, the screen that is used in this MacBook, to my knowledge, is not used in any other laptop besides this. So they could simply call up LG or Samsung or AU Optronics and just say, in this year, so we're just going to move this pin over there and that pin over there, and then that's that. It shouldn't be a difficult thing to do if you're a company that has over $50 or $200 billion of cash in the bank. But apparently it is, because it has been 4 years since the original manufacturing of this machine with this exact same flaw, and they're still producing it. Now, when it comes to the 15-inch models, you're slightly less screwed than you are in the 13-inch model. The 15-inch model has a dedicated GPU, but it also has an integrated GPU inside the CPU. What that means is that they have a MUX chip that deals with those two GPUs before it goes to the screen connector. So in that case, you're killing a MUX chip rather than you are killing the CPU. And the Mux chip is actually something that you can buy that is easily and readily available. We are going to be stocking it soon as well on store.rossmangroup.com. Don't delay. Check the link in the description down below. And in that case, you're not completely screwed. It is a bit of a pain in the ass to replace the VGA chip, to replace this connector on the board as well as on the screen itself. Paul has went over how to do that in this video over here. It's a pretty nice video. How do I fix a black screen in my touch bar? And then he also recycles the LCD assembly as well because the connector was burned out on it. So on the 15-inch models, you do have a chance of saving it. But on the 13-inch models, you are stuck with a dead CPU. Again, all the places that you're going to be able to buy a dead CPU, they're going to be stupidly expensive. Oftentimes, the CPUs you get were ripped off of donor boards, which also have dead CPUs for the exact, because they came off of boards like this. And so it winds up not being a very economically viable repair. However, the fact that this is even a repair service that we need to offer at all, it's aggravating. And when people say, like, why are you so anti-Apple? Why don't you like what Apple produces? You're just always against Apple. I mean, I would like evidence I'd like for things to change. And one of the reasons that I speak about the things that I do on this channel is because I really hope that they do. But it's really hard when you see that it's like they're not even trying. And stuff like this, the reason that things like this bother me is because this is evidence that they're not even trying. They don't care. They're must be fully aware of this. It's not like, some jackass who does videos in Manhattan's the first person to notice this is a problem. I'm sure they've had warranty returns and so on go back to them where they've seen this problem. They realize it's a problem. They just don't do anything about it. It's just sad. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something.